Listen carefully, because if you're watching this right now, it's not random. Something brought you here, something unseen, something precise. You may think you clicked a video, but in truth, the one who controls every heartbeat just whispered your name. You've been searching for meaning in the noise, asking silent questions that no one ever heard. Why did this happen to me? Why did I lose what I loved? Why did everything slow down when I was ready to rise? This isn't a coincidence. It's a message. The delay, the heartbreak, the detour, the silence, none of it was punishment. It was protection. It was direction. It was the beloved teaching you in his quiet language that he knows what you don't. So before you skip, breathe. Let this hour be your meeting with truth. Because when this ends, you won't see your pain, your past, or your path the same way again. You'll finally understand the story you called broken was the very plan that was saving you. The coincidence, that was a conversation. That sudden phone call that made you pause your plans. That unexpected message that came just when you were about to give up. That person who appeared out of nowhere and said something that touched your heart. None of it was an accident. You were never walking through chaos. You were walking through carefully arranged signs. Every small turn, every delay, every strange timing was a conversation between your life and the one who gave it. Allah does not always speak in words. Sometimes He speaks through movement, through timing, through interruption. He shifts the wind, the people, the schedules, and in those shifts, He whispers guidance only the patient can hear. You call it a coincidence because you don't see the invisible hand behind it. But the world you see is only half the picture. Behind every visible moment, the unseen is working in silence. When you missed that bus, you thought it was bad luck, but maybe that delay saved you from something you will never know. When that old friend suddenly reached out, you thought it was random, but maybe Allah sent them as an answer to a prayer you forgot you made. He moves hearts like pieces on a chessboard, arranging protection, guidance, and mercy in ways you'll only understand later. The truth is, there are no coincidences in a world ruled by the most precise. Every meeting you have ever had, every road you have ever taken, every tear that fell exactly when someone comforted you, all of it was written. You think you just felt something, but feelings are languages too. That sudden warmth, that peace for no reason, that calm after crying, that was a message. I am near and I am watching you. Look back at your life carefully. How many times were you pushed away from something you wanted and later realized it would have destroyed you? How many times did a small accident protect you from a greater one? How many times did a heartbreak cleanse your heart for something truer? He was speaking all along through delay, through detour, through denial. The signs of Allah are everywhere, but only the awake heart can read them. It's not about hearing with ears, it's about feeling with faith. When Allah wants to reach a person, He doesn't always send angels or miracles. He uses the fabric of daily life, the stranger's kindness, the sudden change, the forgotten path to carve reminders into your story. Sometimes He lets you lose something small, so you will stop and notice something eternal. Sometimes He closes every door just to show you the one that was meant only for you. When you start to see the world this way, you realize how loved you've always been. Even when you thought He was silent, He was arranging everything for you to hear Him more clearly. That moment when you found peace for no reason, that time when a problem solved itself after you surrendered, those weren't coincidences. They were echoes from the unseen, answers written in the language of mercy. You are not a number lost in the crowd. Every breath, every step, every change in your life is noticed, planned, and shaped by the one who knows what your heart hides. He knows when you need a delay to humble you. He knows when you need a stranger to awaken you. He knows when silence will heal you more than words ever could. The coincidences were the proof of His nearness. You just didn't recognize His handwriting on them yet. There is a wisdom working in the background of every moment. The car that wouldn't start, the email that never came, The person who showed up right before you broke, they all carry the same message. I am still guiding you, even when you think I'm silent. You are living inside a divine pattern. Every thread is being woven with purpose, even the ones that look tangled now. Someday, when you step back, you'll see the picture, and it will make sense why every delay, every change, every coincidence had to happen exactly as it did. Allah never leaves His servants to randomness. Every heartbeat is counted, every tear recorded, every step part of a design drawn long before you existed. When you start trusting that, life stops feeling confusing and starts feeling sacred. So the next time something strange happens, pause. Don't call it coincidence, call it communication. Ask yourself quietly, what is Allah trying to show me right now? Because once you begin to notice the signs, you'll see them everywhere, in the timing, in the people, in the pauses, and you'll realize you were never abandoned. You were always being spoken to, just in a language your heart is now beginning to understand. The loss that was actually protection. You held it close because you thought it was your future. You begged for it because you thought it was your answer. You cried for it because you thought you could not live without it. And then it was taken. You called it loss, but heaven called it protection. Sometimes the kindest thing you will ever receive is the thing you did not get to keep. Think of a child reaching for fire. The parent pulls the hand away. The child cries. The parent saves. You felt the pull. You felt the sting. You only saw a door closing, but a fire was quietly being kept from your skin. You say it was mine, but not everything you can hold was meant for your heart. There are people who feel sweet and turn the soul bitter. There are jobs that pay well and make the soul poor. There are dreams that look golden and hide a trap. So the door shut, so the message stopped, so the plan fell apart. You called it the worst day. It was one of your safest. Protection rarely looks beautiful in the moment. It looks like emptiness. It sounds like silence. It feels like standing outside in the cold while everyone else gets in. But what if the room you weren't allowed to enter had no air for you to breathe? There were things you could not see. Words said behind your back, intentions that were not pure, paths that bent slowly toward harm. You were being spared the slow kind of damage, the kind that steals you piece by piece until you no longer remember who you are. A gardener cuts living branches, the rose bleeds sap, but the cut is not cruelty, it is shape, it is future bloom. You felt the cut. The one who loves you held the knife with care. He removed what would have kept you small. He made room for what would help you grow. There is a sweetness in getting what you want. There is a deeper sweetness in being saved from what you want. You prayed for happiness, you were answered with safety. You prayed for a person, you were answered with peace. You prayed for a chance, you were answered with time to mature, so the chance would not break you later. Loss is a mirror. It shows you what you worship. It reveals what you fear. It teaches you what you cling to more than your own breath. And then it teaches you to unclench, to open the hand, to trust the giver more than the gift. There were signs you ignored. The tightness in your chest, the way your joy dimmed slowly, the tired eyes in the morning, the message that felt wrong but you explained away. You called them small, they were alarms. So the ceiling came down, so the plan cracked, so the goodbye arrived. It felt sudden, it was patient mercy finally stepping in. Protection can come like rain, soft, gentle, steady. Protection can also come like a storm, fast, loud, undeniable. Either way, you are being moved from danger to destiny. Imagine a ship leaving at the wrong tide. The sea holds it back. The captain curses the water. The water is saving the ship from rocks it cannot see. Your heart is that ship. Your timing is not the tide. You blamed yourself. You said, if I had been better, they would have stayed. But sometimes losing them was the way you were made better. You said, if I had worked harder, the door would have opened. But sometimes opening that door would have crushed you under weight you could not carry yet. There are people who are beautiful for a season and dangerous for a lifetime. There are rooms that are perfect for an hour, and poisonous for a year. You were not rejected. You were redirected. You were not punished. You were protected. You wanted clear reasons. You got quiet rescue. Think of the surgeon. The tool is sharp. The touch is precise. The cut hurts. The cut heals. What was removed from your life was not thrown away in anger. It was lifted away in care. It had to go so you could breathe without fear again. Sometimes protection removes the obvious danger. Sometimes it removes the secret one. Your pride, your addiction to approval, your habit of settling for less than you were made for. You did not just lose a person. You lost the version of yourself that begged for crumbs. You did not just lose a title. You lost the need to be seen to feel valuable. You did not just lose a plan. You lost an old map that always led to the same emptiness. When the gift leaves, the lesson arrives. When the noise goes, the voice within grows louder. When the hand you held lets go, you learn to hold the one who never lets go. You thought the best parts of your life were behind that door, but the best parts of your life are built by the one who closed it. You feared being alone. You found yourself instead. You feared being left behind. You were placed ahead of the disaster. You feared starting again. You were given a blank page and a faithful pen. Look at how your breath deepened after it ended. Look at how your sleep returned. Look at how your laughter slowly came back without forcing it. This is what protection feels like after the storm passes. Your eyes will keep searching for the old shape. Let them learn new light. Your hands will reach for what is gone. Let them open to what is coming. Your mind will rewrite the story to make the past look perfect. Tell it gently. Memory is kind. Reality was not. There was a reason you prayed more near the end. There was a reason you felt small aches that grew into loud truths. There was a reason the peace you wanted never settled. You were being warned with love. You say, but I invested so much. The answer is nothing real is lost. What was true will return in a truer form. What was false will stay buried where it belongs. You say, but I am tired. The answer is rest, then rise. Protection takes energy. Healing takes time. But both are moving you toward a cleaner life. You say, but I don't know who I am without them, without that job, without that dream. The answer is, you are someone who is learning to be whole. You are someone who will choose peace over panic next time. You are someone who will not confuse attention with love again. There is a moment after the crying and the long nights when a quiet relief appears. You do not notice it at first. It is small, like a new leaf, but it grows. That relief is your soul telling you the danger has passed. That relief is your future stretching its arms. If you are still in the ache, hold on to this. Safety does not always feel soft at first. Sometimes safety feels like a door closing in your face. But later you will bless that door with tears of gratitude. Trust the hands that took. They are the same hands that will give. Trust the wisdom that said, not this. It is the same wisdom that will soon say, now this. Your life is not getting smaller. It is getting clearer. Your circle is not getting emptier. It is getting truer. Your path is not disappearing. It is being cleaned of stones. What is for you will not ask you to betray yourself. What is for you will not keep you begging at the edge of love. What is for you will not require you to shrink your soul to fit inside it. One day you will look back at the day you called the worst and whisper, it saved me. One day you will bless the goodbye you hated because it returned you to a self that can love without fear. One day you will understand why the timing was exact, why the collapse was needed, why the silence lasted as long as it did. And on that day, you will realize you never lost anything meant to build you. You only lost what would have slowly broken you. Hold this close tonight. The protection you did not ask for is carrying you to a life you would not have chosen, but will be grateful to live. Let the grief wash through. Let the memories pass like weather. Let the future come without rushing it. You are not empty. You are being prepared. You are not behind. You are being aligned. You are not forgotten. You are being guarded. And the one who guarded you in the taking will guide you in the giving that follows. The pain that burned away illusion. There is a kind of pain that does not break you. It burns you clean. It arrives like fire but leaves behind gold. You did not invite it. You did not want it. But it came unannounced, like a teacher dressed in storm clouds. At first, you thought it was punishment. You said, why would this happen to me? You cried for it to end. You begged for mercy, but mercy had already begun. It just didn't look gentle yet. When Allah loves a soul, He removes its illusions one by one. And sometimes the only way to remove them is through pain strong enough to wake the heart. Illusions are soft prisons. They make you believe something false is safe. A false love, a false identity, a false sense of control. They tell you, you are fine as you are. But the beloved looks at you and says, no, there is more. You were meant for more. So He sends the flame. At first, it burns everything you built. The plans, the pride, the comfort, the story you told yourself about who you were. And you stand among the ashes, thinking you've lost everything. But look closer. What truly burned was not you. It was the mask you mistook for yourself. The fire revealed what was hidden. The purity under the pretending. The sincerity beneath the show. The soft soul under the armor. Every tear that fell was water cooling the wound. And every ache in your chest was a door opening to something real. Pain is not a stranger on the Sufi path. It is the companion that breaks the ego so the heart can breathe again. When you are comfortable, you forget. When you are wounded, you remember. Comfort hides the beloved. Pain brings you running back to Him. That's why what you lost wasn't really loss. It was light disguised as hardship. The burning was not to destroy, but to melt the hardness that kept you from feeling fully alive. You said, I can't take it anymore, but you did. And in surviving, something inside you shifted. The illusions fell away one by one, and what remained was raw and honest. A heart that no longer pretends. Before the fire, you thought you were strong because nothing shook you. After the fire, you learned that true strength is standing in the shaking and still whispering, I trust you. There are stages to this burning. First comes confusion. You try to fix everything with your hands. Then comes exhaustion. You realize your hands were never in control. Finally comes surrender. You fall into silence, and that's when the healing begins. Pain does not teach through words, it teaches through transformation. You wake up one day and the world feels quieter, but you see it more clearly. The noise that once ruled you has faded. The desires that once blinded you now look small. The things that used to scare you don't matter anymore. That is how you know the illusion has been burnt. Once you have passed through real pain, you no longer fear losing things. You fear losing connection with the one who carried you through it. Every scar becomes a verse in the story of return. You start to thank the fire. You start to whisper gratitude for what once hurt you. Because you realize without that burning, you would have stayed asleep in a dream called comfort. Pain is a purifier. It scrapes away the rust of pride and the dust of attachment. It exposes what is real. The world may see you crying and call it weakness, but heaven sees you bending and calls it worship. That night you cried until your pillow was soaked. That was not a breakdown. That was a baptism of the soul. You thought you were falling apart. You were being rebuilt. You thought you were losing faith. You were learning what faith really is. Trust without proof. Love without reward. After the fire, you speak differently. You walk slower. You love softer. You judge less. You understand that everyone is fighting a battle you cannot see. The one who has been burned by life stops playing with fire in others' hearts. The one who has been humbled by pain becomes a shelter for the hurting. And that is why pain is sacred. It not only changes you, it changes how the world experiences you. When you smile again, it carries depth. When you forgive again, it carries truth. When you love again, it carries weight. The illusions are gone. Only reality remains. You learn to say, if this is from you, I accept it. You stop running. You stop chasing. You sit still in the middle of the storm because you know the wind obeys the same one you do. Every soul that has been purified by pain walks with a kind of quiet power. They don't need to prove anything. Their calm confuses the noisy. Their peace feels like truth because they have touched something eternal. And once you touch it, you cannot go back to pretending. Look at your scars. They are not signs of weakness. They are reminders that you were chosen for refinement. Not everyone gets to see the furnace. Not everyone is trusted with transformation, but you were. That means you were loved deeply enough to be made new. So when pain comes again, and it will remember what it did last time. It didn't destroy you. It uncovered you. And maybe this new fire is only burning the next layer of illusion, preparing you for a freedom you didn't even know existed yet. The silence, that spoke louder than words. There are seasons in life when heaven stops speaking in sound. No words, no signs, no movement, just silence. And in that silence, you begin to wonder if you've been forgotten. You pray, but nothing changes. You wait, but no door opens. You cry, and the only reply is your own breathing in the dark. But what if that silence was not absence? What if it was a new language, one only the heart can hear? Sometimes Allah hides His voice to teach you how to listen differently. He quiets the world until every distraction fades, until you are left alone with your thoughts, your wounds, and your soul. That quiet space you fear is where truth begins to grow. It is the sacred room where illusions die, where masks fall, where prayer becomes raw and real. At first you fight it. You check your phone, your plans, your people. You fill the silence with noise because it feels safer. But the noise never comforts it, only delays the encounter. Because silence is the meeting place. It is where the soul finally kneels without performance. It is where you stop performing strength and start whispering, I don't know who I am without you. When you reach that place, the silence is no longer empty. It begins to hum with something alive. The heart starts hearing what the ears never could. You begin to notice tiny things. The way light touches the wall, the sound of your own heartbeat, the breath that enters and leaves without effort. And you realize even in stillness you are being sustained. That realization is the first whisper of guidance. It's Allah saying, I never left. Silence is not punishment, it's preparation. He is not ignoring you. He is refining your ability to hear Him. Because when the voice of the world goes quiet, you start to recognize the voice within, the one that calls you back to sincerity, to patience, to remembrance. In the beginning, the silence feels like a wall. You press your forehead against it, asking for a sign, but stay long enough and you will feel it breathe. What looked like stone becomes a veil, and beyond that veil is the most tender presence you've ever known. It's not that He stopped answering, it's that He's teaching you how to read the answers written in stillness. Every pause has meaning. Every delay is language. Every quiet moment holds an invisible sentence written for you. You ask, why don't I hear anything? And He replies in silence, because if I spoke now, you would only hear fear, not faith. So He waits until the noise of your doubts dies down, and then the silence begins to speak. It tells you, look how far you've come. It whispers, you survived what you thought would end you. It reminds you, even here, even now, you are being watched over. This is the secret the Sufis knew, that silence is the sound of the soul's return. You don't need thunder to know He is near. You only need the kind of quiet that makes your eyes full with tears. For reasons you can't explain. That's not emptiness, that's recognition. Every time your heart softens in the dark, it's because the silence is working on you. It is polishing the mirror of your heart, so that when light finally touches it, you can see clearly. There is beauty in being unseen for a while, in being hidden, hushed, slowed down, because what grows in silence lasts longer than what grows in noise. When He stops giving you what you want, it's so you'll start asking for what you need. When He stops showing you signs in the world, it's so you'll start finding signs within yourself. The silence teaches patience, the kind that humbles you, that bends your knees softly instead of breaking them. In that patience, your prayers change. You stop demanding and start trusting. You stop asking, when will it end? And start saying, if this is where you want me, keep me here until I learn. That shift, that gentle surrender is the moment the silence turns holy. Then something beautiful happens. Peace begins to bloom in places you thought were dead. The waiting doesn't hurt as much. The unanswered questions lose their power. You start to breathe again, slowly, fully, faithfully. Because silence, when accepted, becomes shelter. It becomes the quiet field where your soul finally rests. Every prophet walked through this silence. Every saint was shaped in this quiet fire. Every heart that has known Allah deeply was first emptied of noise. So do not run from the quiet. Walk into it. Let it hold you until you stop shaking. Because in that stillness, you will discover that the one you were calling was already inside the call itself. And then the silence won't scare you anymore. It will comfort you. You will start to crave it, because you'll know that when everything else stops, that's when He speaks the loudest. The delay, that was a door of mercy. You asked, you waited, you kept asking, and nothing happened. Days passed into months, months into years. The prayer you thought would bloom in a moment still lies unopened inside time. You started to wonder, did I do something wrong? Did He stop listening? Did I miss my chance? But delay is not distance. Delay is mercy wearing a slower face. Sometimes what you call waiting is actually heaven holding you back from harm you cannot see. The Sufis say that time itself is a teacher, and the patient heart is the classroom where wisdom grows. If everything you wanted came the moment you asked, your soul would never learn to kneel. Your gratitude would be shallow. Your faith would be untested. So He lets the clock turn quietly, not to torment you, but to teach you how to breathe without panic, how to love without condition, how to pray without proof. Every delay is a door of mercy disguised as stillness. You think nothing is moving, but behind that silence, entire worlds are shifting for your good. The angels are preparing paths you cannot yet walk. The timing is being woven to fit the shape of your destiny. If He gave it to you now, you might lose it through pride, impatience, or fear. So He waits until your heart is strong enough to hold it. You call it delay. He calls it protection. Look back at your life. How many times did you cry for something that would have broken you if it came too soon? How many times did you feel abandoned only to realize later that the no was the kindest yes? Mercy doesn't always arrive with softness. Sometimes it arrives with waiting that stretches you to your limits. Waiting is a sacred surgery. It cuts open your false timelines. It removes your attachment to speed. It teaches you to find comfort in the unseen. Because what is written for you is not being denied. It is being perfected. The rose does not bloom because the sun demands it. It blooms because the soil, the rain, and the night all agree it is time. You cannot rush what heaven is still arranging. Delay is not punishment. It is preparation. You are being taught how to walk with faith instead of sight, how to rest in the wisdom of not yet. Every time you feel like giving up, know that the story is still being written. The ink has not dried. The author has not finished the chapter. When the delay feels heavy, remember the same one who made time is the one who bends it for His beloved. You might think the world forgot you, but heaven keeps its own calendar, and your name is written in its schedule. Perhaps the reason the door has not opened is because you are still standing at the wrong one. Or maybe the door you're knocking on is too small for the blessing meant for you. So He delays, not to deny, but to redirect you towards something larger. Every unanswered prayer whispers, wait, the shape of this gift is still forming. In delay, the ego dies a little, the heart softens, the spirit learns silence. And in that silence, you begin to see what truly matters. You stop asking for things that shine. You start asking for things that stay. You stop praying for ease. You start praying for strength. And then something shifts. The weight no longer feels empty. It starts to feel holy, because delay is the sacred space where faith matures from words into certainty. Think of the seed under the soil. It is dark. It is silent. It looks dead. But inside, life is forming with precision. You are that seed. Your moment of blooming will not miss its time. If you could see the unseen, you would stop weeping. You would whisper, "Thank you for slowing me down." The things you want are not always what you need. Sometimes you want the door, He gives you the key. Sometimes you want the finish line, He teaches you how to walk. Sometimes you want the miracle, He makes you one instead. Delay is not a wall, it is a hallway. It may feel narrow now, but every step through it stretches your soul. One day, you will look back and realize that the waiting room was actually the place of transformation. You entered restless, you left radiant. You entered asking, you left understanding. Delay taught you to see the world through different eyes. Eyes that trust timing more than speed, purpose more than pleasure, faith more than sight. You begin to thank the pauses. You begin to bless the days that felt wasted. Because now you know nothing was wasted. Every moment of waiting was a brushstroke in a larger masterpiece. The artist was never late. The artist was deliberate. So when life slows down, don't fight the rhythm. Breathe into it. Whisper, "I'm still being written," because delay is not the absence of progress. It is the gentle unfolding of divine precision. And when that door finally opens, you'll understand why every other one had to stay closed. The stranger who awakened your soul, they arrived like a breeze through a closed window. No announcement, no promise, just presence. You didn't know their history. You only knew how your heart felt when they spoke. How a single sentence untied 1,000 knots inside you. They did not stay long. They were not meant to. Some souls are not sent to build a house in your life. They are sent to light a lamp and keep walking. You called it a chance meeting, but your soul knew better. It recognized a messenger wearing ordinary clothes. Sometimes guidance does not come with a halo. It comes with a kind smile at the market. A driver who waits when you're late. A teacher who says one line you never forget. A stranger who looks at you as if they've known your pain for years. They didn't ask for your story. They didn't dig into your wounds. They simply dropped a seed into the soil of your heart and trusted time to water it. You felt seen without explaining yourself. You felt safe without proving anything. You felt remembered by the one who sent them. They spoke softly as if careful not to wake the noise in your head. They said something simple, but it landed with the weight of a revelation. You carried that sentence home like a treasure. You repeated it to yourself while washing dishes, while staring at the ceiling, while walking alone at night. It kept shining. It refused to fade, as if the words were not theirs to begin with, as if they were borrowed from the unseen and handed to you for safekeeping. There are people who arrive to awaken, not to accompany. They carry keys, not luggage. They open doors inside you and then leave you with the rooms. You might search for them later. You might wish to thank them, but they are already gone. The way dawn slips away once the sun has learned to rise. This is how mercy travels sometimes. Quiet feet, steady eyes, brief touch. Enough to steer your life by a few degrees, enough to change where you arrive years from now. Before they came, you had grown tired. You were living by momentum, not meaning. You were breathing, but not alive. They reminded you that your soul still listens, that your heart still answers to truth, that somewhere beneath the dust, a light was waiting for air. You did not fall in love with them. You fell in love with what woke up inside you because of them. You did not become dependent on them. You became hungry for the one who sent them. They taught without trying. They healed without touching. They understood without asking. And when they left, You thought the gift would leave too, but the gift remained. A new clarity, a new tenderness, a new direction. You began cleaning your inner house. You moved out the heavy furniture of bitterness. You opened the windows that pride had nailed shut. You let fresh air touch forgotten rooms. All because a traveler paused at your door and said, "Look again, light still lives here." It didn't feel dramatic. It felt natural, like meeting a version of yourself you always hoped to become. You did not have the words for it then, but now you know. Some people are proofs that mercy still walks this earth, proofs that you are not invisible to heaven, proofs that your prayers were heard even when your mouth was too tired to move. You wonder who they really were. Maybe a neighbor you never noticed, maybe a worker with gentle eyes, maybe a traveler on a bench who shared half their sandwich and a whole truth. Their names don't matter in the book of destiny. Only the awakening does. They held up a mirror, and for the first time in months, maybe years, you saw a face that looked hopeful. You saw a heart that could soften again. You saw a future that did not terrify you. You started making small changes. You spoke more kindly to yourself. You forgave a debt your memory kept collecting. You chose a quieter kind of strength. And deep inside, you whispered, whoever they were, bless them. Because that is what the awakened soul does. It turns gratitude into a prayer that keeps traveling. Not everyone who enters your life is meant to stay. Some are like candles in a dark hallway. They light your steps and then melt away, content that you can walk without stumbling. If you try to hold them longer than their mission, you'll confuse the message with the messenger. You'll worship the sign and forget the sender. So let them go with honor. Treasure the light, not the lantern. Carry forward the lesson, not the person. Remember how they listened to you as if your pauses were words. Remember how they looked at you with a mercy you wanted to borrow. Remember how their calm felt like a home you had been missing. And then turn inward. Ask yourself, what did they awaken that I must now protect? Perhaps it was your dignity. Perhaps it was your ability to set a boundary without anger. Perhaps it was your longing to pray with a softer heart. Perhaps it was the courage to leave what harms you quietly. Awakening is delicate. Treat it like a newborn. Feed it gentle truths. Keep it warm with good company. Let it sleep inside. Trust you might never meet them again. That is all right. Their absence is part of the lesson. You do not need a constant visitor to keep a permanent light. The one who sent them remains. And the light you carry now does not depend on footsteps in your hallway. One day, you may become the stranger for someone else. You will say a small thing that lands like rain. You will wait an extra minute that saves a life from rushing into harm. You will smile at a soul that has forgotten. It is seen. You will not know the size of it. You will simply trust that mercy recycles itself through human hands. This is how the world is healed. Not always by grand gestures, but by quiet encounters that turn people back toward the first love. If you are still thinking of the one who awakened you, send a silent blessing. Let it rise like fragrance. Let it find them wherever they are. And then keep walking. Keep tending the light they helped you find. Keep choosing what honors the new you, because the real awakening was never about them. It was about you remembering who you are when you stand in the nearness of the one who never leaves. Tonight, sit with the gift they left behind. Hold it the way you hold a warm cup on a cold night. Feel how it steadies your hands. Feel how it slows your breath. Feel how it makes the dark less loud. Whisper your thanks to the sender. Promise to protect what has been reborn in you. Promise to live in a way that would make that stranger smile. And quietly say, mission complete. And if tomorrow you cross paths with another traveler, be gentle. They might be carrying a message meant for you, or you might be carrying one meant for them. Either way, walk softly. The ground between souls is sacred. The days moved on, but their echo stayed. A single sentence from them keeps unfolding inside you like a prayer. Each time life grows heavy, you remember the way they looked at you. Steady, kind, without judgment. That memory itself becomes guidance. It tells you, be that kind of presence for others. You start noticing small chances to do so. You hold the elevator door. You listen to someone's story without glancing at your phone. You say a word that costs nothing and gives peace, and you begin to understand awakening was never meant to end with you. It was meant to travel. Every awakened heart becomes a candle that lights another. The world brightens this way, quietly, endlessly. Still, there are nights when you miss them. You wonder where they are, whether they ever think of you. You replay the moment you met, the way time seemed to slow around that conversation. Then you remember, souls meet long before bodies do. Connections are written in the unseen, and distance cannot erase what was divine in its purpose. You whisper a blessing into the dark, not to summon them back, but to thank the one who sent them. Gratitude turns longing into light. And in that light, you see something new. Perhaps you were also sent into their life as a lesson. Perhaps your tears, your honesty, your struggle showed them something they had forgotten too. Mercy flows both ways. Even brief meetings exchange unseen gifts. The Sufi heart understands this rhythm, that love is not ownership, it is remembrance. It is recognizing a reflection of the beloved in another soul and bowing to that reflection without clinging. So you keep walking, but you walk differently now. You look at people longer, you listen with softer eyes. Because you never know who carries a message for you and who is waiting for a message that only you can deliver. Sometimes you sense it again, that quiet familiarity in a new face. It doesn't surprise you anymore. You smile inside and think, another letter from the unseen. Every soul that crosses your path is an unopened envelope. Some contain comfort, some correction, some courage, all come from the same sender. You begin to treat life as correspondence with heaven. Every meeting becomes sacred mail. Every goodbye becomes a signature at the end of a paragraph. And you, the reader, learn to savor the lines without demanding another page. One evening, while walking home, you notice how the sunset feels like an embrace. You realize the same presence that sent the stranger is now sending colors, wind, birds, silence, all carrying the same message. I am near. That is the full circle of awakening. To see the beloved in everything, not only in the one who first reminded you. The stranger awakened your soul, yes, but it was Allah who breathed that awakening into form. They were only the door. He was the home you entered through them. Now that you are inside, live like a guest of mercy. Let your actions smell of gratitude. Let your words taste of gentleness. Let your presence remind others of peace. When you speak, speak as if hearts are fragile glass. When you walk, walk as if the ground remembers every kindness. When you love, love as if you are holding something entrusted by the divine. This is how awakened souls move through the world, with awareness that every encounter matters and every silence might be sacred. The stranger's role is complete. Yours begins now. Carry the torch they lit in you. Protect it from winds of cynicism and storms of doubt. Feed it with prayer, with patience, with honest kindness. Let it glow in your eyes so others can find their way in your reflection. Because the story was never about who stayed or who left. It was always about what was born in you because of them. Somewhere tonight, another heart is praying for a sign. Another person is sitting in the dark asking for proof that they are seen. And perhaps tomorrow, that proof will wear your face. When you reach them, you'll understand completely. Every awakening is an invitation to become a messenger of awakening. The light that once found you will find them through you, and the circle will close only to begin again, spreading mercy from heart to heart until the whole world glows with remembrance. The detour that revealed the destination. You thought you took the wrong road. You thought you wasted years. You thought everyone else moved forward while you circled the same block. But what if the road you called wrong was the only road that could carry you to who you were meant to be? Detours are not always mistakes. Sometimes they are mercy changing your direction. Before your feet carry you too far to turn back, there was a moment you can't forget. A door that should have opened but didn't, a letter that never arrived, a chance that slipped through your hands like water. You told yourself it was failure. You wore that word like a heavy coat. But there was a wind moving that day, a hand you could not see, guiding your steps away from a future that would have drained your light. You prayed for a straight path. He gave you a winding one, so your heart would have time to learn what your mind refused to hear. If the road had been easy, you would have trusted the road. Because it bent and broke and turned you around, you learned to trust the guide. There are lessons that only curves can teach. You learn patience when the way is not direct. You learn humility when the map no longer matches. You learn faith when the horizon keeps changing colors. Think of a river. It never flows in a straight line, yet it always finds the ocean. Your life is that river. The bends are not betrayal. They are shape, they are timing, they are safety. You called it delay. He called it preparation. You called it confusion. He called it careful design. Every time you had to turn around, something in you softened, a sharp edge smoothed. A stubborn thought loosened its grip. A Qadr wisdom took its place. Detours strip away the noise. They pull you off the crowded highway into a smaller road where you can hear your own soul again. On that smaller road, you notice things you missed. The way your chest tightens around people who are not good for you. The way your peace grows around people who speak gently. The way your breath knows the truth before your mind admits it. You begin to ask different questions. Not how fast can I get there, but who am I becoming on the way? Not why did this close, but what is this closing asking me to learn? The detour becomes a teacher. It shows you that arriving without wisdom is another kind of getting lost. It shows you that the shortest route can be the most expensive, costing your values, your peace, your soul. There was a version of you that loved applause. The detour took you where no one was clapping, so you could hear the applause of heaven. There was a version of you that needed constant control. The detour broke the wheel from your hands, so you could see that surrender is not defeat. It is direction. There was a version of you that chased what glittered. The detour dimmed the lights, so you could notice what glows. One day, in the middle of that winding road, you met a moment that felt like a mirror. You saw the tiredness in your own eyes. You heard the quiet truth in your own breath. This is not where I want to die. This is not where I belong. And instead of running faster, you stopped. You turned your face upward. You said, "Show me." That prayer opened a door that maps cannot draw. Not a door in the world, a door inside you. Through it, you stepped into honesty. Through it, you stepped into simplicity. Through it, you stepped into a path that asked less from your ego and more from your heart. People around you didn't understand. They said you were going backward. They said you were wasting time, but only you could feel the quiet rightness under your ribs. The way your breaths began to land like birds finding home. That is how you know a detour is divine. Your body relaxes even when your plans do not. Your nights become softer even if your days are slow. Your prayers stop begging and start blooming. You notice the signs you used to rush past. A sentence that arrives at the perfect hour. A delay that saves you from an unseen harm. A new friend who feels like a road you once loved. The detour begins to reveal its map. You see that? Every turn had a teacher. Every closed door had a message. Every not this way had a this way waiting beside it. You are not late. You are layered. You are not stuck. You are being shaped. You learn the difference between speed and progress. Speed is movement that impresses the eyes. Progress is movement that deepens the soul. The world asked you, "Are you there yet?" The beloved asked you, "Are you more true yet?" And slowly, beautifully, There is a mercy in being moved away from what you thought you wanted. It frees your hands to receive what you were made for. It frees your voice to speak what you were born to say. It frees your heart to rest where it can finally grow. Do you remember the place you begged to stay? If you had stayed, you would have shrunk. If you had stayed, you would have learned to breathe small. If you had stayed, you would have called surviving a life. The detour loved you too much to let that happen. Sometimes the road loops back to what you left, but you return different. You return with boundaries that do not tremble, with eyes that do not fall for the same performance, with a spine that bows to truth and nothing else. Sometimes the road never returns, and that is also mercy. Because not every chapter deserves a sequel. Some stories end to save your story. If you are in the turn right now, if the signs are unclear and the sky is quiet, hold this close. There is a wisdom arranging all the angles. There is a care measuring every mile. There is a love choosing the safest night to cross the mountain. You will not miss what is yours. The road cannot lose the traveler it was built for. Walk as if the ground knows your name. Rest when the wind leans heavy. Rise when the light touches your face. Keep your heart soft enough to feel the nudge and your will strong enough to follow it. One morning soon, you will wake and feel the click, that gentle fit of soul and day, like a key finally meeting the lock it was carved for. You will look around and realize this is why the other way is closed. This is where the long road was leading me. You will bless the miles that made you kinder. You will bless the storms that taught you prayer. You will bless the empty seasons that turned you into a home for peace. And you will whisper with a smile, only heaven understands. The detour was the destination wearing a different name. There comes a quiet morning when the ache turns soft. You no longer fight the path. You walk it. You stop checking how far is left and start noticing what is here. The trees look taller. The air feels kind. Even the stones beneath your feet seem to hum with purpose. You realize nothing was wasted. Every delay was a lesson in disguise. Every wrong turn refined the compass of your heart. The road did not betray you. It introduced you to yourself. The detour made you patient. It made you gentle with people who are still learning. It made you wise enough to choose peace over speed. You now see that the map was always changing because you were changing. A smaller version of you could not have carried this wisdom. A hurried version of you could not have noticed this beauty. The one who drew the route was waiting for your heart to grow large enough to recognize his handwriting. And now you do. You see his calligraphy in everything. In the way certain people left exactly when they had to. In the way a dream crumbled so a truer one could form. In the way every unanswered prayer turned into guidance wearing another name. The detour was mercy, not misdirection. Mercy that held you until your steps became steady, until your love became honest, until your faith stopped depending on outcomes. There were nights when you begged for shortcuts. Now you thank him for the long road, because on that long road you found the quiet companionship of the divine. You learned that not every movement forward looks like progress. Sometimes sitting still in trust moves you further than running in fear. The world measures miles. He measures growth. The destination was never a place on earth. It was a state of surrender. It was the peace that comes when your will and his will finally stop wrestling. You don't reach it with maps. You reach it with maturity. You reach it when you stop saying, why me? And start saying, guide me. Every detour, every loss, every long pause was a verse of that prayer written in real life. The road itself became your teacher. Now when you meet others who are lost, you do not lecture them. You tell them stories. You tell them how you thought you were ruined and how that ruin became your rebirth. You tell them how you once cursed the closed doors and now you bless them. Your voice carries a softness that only travelers of pain can give. People listen differently when your peace is real. You have become a signpost for those behind you, not because you know everything, but because you have walked with patience long enough to trust what you don't know. That is sacred authority. Not perfection, but presence. Not certainty, but surrender. One day you will realize that every prayer you made along the road was answered, just not in the form you expected. The help you asked for came as hardship. The sign you begged for came as silence. The love you longed for came as lessons in letting go. Every answer was wrapped in wisdom, and you had to walk far enough to unwrap it. Now, when you look back, you see the pattern, how every delay lined up perfectly, how every obstacle shifted you by inches until the view changed completely. You see that nothing could have been sooner or later. Everything arrived in the exact breath it was meant to. And gratitude floods your chest. It overflows, quiet and wide. You realize that the journey was the destination all along. The detour did not steal your story. It was your story. It gave you texture, depth, compassion, patience. It carved out the space where love could live without fear. And if tomorrow brings another curve, you will smile. You will remember that the bends belong to the beloved. You will whisper, "Take me where I need to be, even if I don't understand." Because now you know every path he draws ends in mercy. Every delay hides a blessing too delicate to rush. Every confusion is clearing disguised as cloud. The traveler who trusts this no longer fears the road. They walk it like prayer. They rest like faith. They arrive every day, even before reaching the end. Allah knows what you don't. You stared at the ceiling and asked for answers. None came in words. Only a quiet warmth rested on your chest, as if someone placed a hand there and said, "Breathe, I am here." You thought you needed information. What you really needed was assurance. Not every mystery is solved with details. Some are solved with presence. You have asked 1,000 times, "Why did this happen? Why did they leave? Why didn't the door open when I was ready?" There is a truth that lives beyond those questions. He knows what you don't. He knows the corners you cannot see. He knows the future that would swallow your peace. He knows the timing that would save you from yourself. You see minutes and hours. He sees the whole picture. You look at the surface of the water. He measures the depth and the current and the storm. If he took something, he saw what it would have done to your heart in a year, in 5 years, in the last hour of your life. If he delayed something, he saw the weight it would place on your shoulders while your back was still learning how to stand. If he hid something, he knew you would worship it. So he hid it until your love was strong enough to hold it without bowing to it. There is a golden whisper that follows you into every room. Trust me when you cannot trace me. It speaks when the phone stays silent. It speaks when the plan falls through. It speaks when your name is not called, when your work is unseen, when your kindness is not returned. It says, "Not this way, not this hour, not this door." Not because you are unworthy, but because your story is being carved with precision, and precision cannot be rushed. The night your heart broke, something else broke too, the shell around your soul. Light needed a place to enter, so your life was opened right where it hurt. You thought the opening was a wound. It was an entrance. He knows what you don't. He knows why the journey had to bend. He knows which faces would dim your light if they stayed too close. He knows which rooms would starve your spirit if you lived in them. So he guided you gently, sometimes loudly, sometimes with a push, sometimes with a pause. You called it confusion. He called it care. Look back and notice the pattern. Every time you wanted to hurry, something slowed you. Every time you tried to settle where love was thin, something unsettled you. Every time you chased validation that kept shrinking your chest, a silence wrapped around you until the hunger for approval began to lose its taste. You were being moved from noise to knowing, from needing answers to trusting wisdom, from worshipping outcomes to loving the one who writes them. He knows what you don't. He knows that the thing you think will save you might softly become your prison. He knows that the person you believe will complete you might teach you dependence instead of devotion. He knows that the stage you dream of might cut you away from your own voice. So the no came, or the not yet, or the long echoing quiet. It felt like emptiness. It was actually editing. The story was being trimmed so it could breathe. The scene was being rewritten so it could carry truth. You are not being punished. You are being authored. He knows when a gift will become a weight. He knows when a speed will become a fall. He knows when a yes will make you forget the one who gives. So he withholds until you can hold it without losing him. Trust the soft law of the soul. Anything that asks you to leave yourself behind, to keep it, is not from the one who made you. Anything that asks you to lie about your peace, to shrink your honesty, to sell your quiet for applause, cannot be a blessing. He knows what you don't. You wanted a bridge. He gave you a boat in the still river so you would learn patience with the oars. You wanted a bright sign. He dimmed the lights so you would learn the language of the heart in the dark. You wanted a perfect map. He gave you a perfect companion and asked you to walk one step at a time. In the step, you learned intimacy. In the step, you learned to feel the ground. In the step, you learned that peace is not at the end of the road. It is the way you walk it. He knows what you don't. He knows that if he poured the whole ocean of answers into your hands, you would drown in explanations and forget how to float in trust. So he teaches you to float, face to the sky. Hands open, breath steady. Floating is not doing nothing. Floating is the art of not fighting what carries you. You are carried by a wisdom older than your fear. You are held by a mercy wider than your mistakes. You are guided by a light brighter than your confusion. When your mind begins its storm, place one true sentence in the center of the waves. He knows what I don't. Say it when you wake with a knot in your chest. Say it when the meeting goes wrong. Say it when the test returns with a score that stings. Say it when the message you longed for doesn't arrive. Say it when you sit alone at a table set for two. Not to numb yourself, not to avoid grief, but to give grief a hand to hold while it passes through. Trust is not the absence of pain. Trust is the refusal to turn pain into a God. He knows what you don't, and because he knows, he will not leave you where knowledge would harm you. He will not let you keep what will quietly corrode your joy. He will not let you climb a ladder that leans against the wrong wall. Sometimes the mercy is a closed phone. Sometimes the mercy is a cancelled plan. Sometimes the mercy is the job you didn't get. Sometimes the mercy is a love that didn't grow. Each mercy feels like loss on the first night. On the second, it feels like space. On the third, it feels like air returning to your lungs. On the fourth, you realize you can finally sleep. There is a promise hidden in every delay. When this arrives, it will not devour you. There is a promise hidden in every redirection. When you reach it, you will recognize yourself. There is a promise hidden in every goodbye. When real love comes, it will not ask you to disappear. He knows what you don't. So he trains your hands to release. He trains your eyes to see gently. He trains your feet to walk away when peace keeps shrinking. He trains your tongue to bless what once broke you. Blessing is not weakness. Blessing is authority. It means you have outgrown the need to win the old war. It means the past no longer gets rent-free space in your chest. You are learning to live light. You are learning to travel with essentials. Truth, patience, gratitude, honest prayer, quiet kindness. What you set down was heavy. What you carry now can cross oceans. He knows what you don't. He knows that the day you call ordinary might be the day your life turns by a single degree. A degree that looks like nothing now and everything in a year. He knows that the smile you give a stranger might save them from a bridge. He knows that the sentence you speak without effort might become someone's lifeline in the dark. Your small obedience today is the seed of a forest you will rest in tomorrow. You do not need to see the whole forest to plant the seed. You only need to trust the rain. Trust the rain. Trust the seasons. Trust the slow, sure work of a wisdom that writes stories with weather and time. He knows what you don't. He knows the exact moment your heart will be ready. He knows the precise hour the right door will feel like home. He knows the name of the peace you will meet at the corner you keep passing. So keep passing it. Keep showing up with an honest face. Keep returning to the small prayers that make your day clean. Do the quiet good no one claps for. Fold the blanket. Wash the cup. Answer gently. Forgive responsibly. Step away from what bruises your spirit. Return to what waters it. These are not small things. These are the architecture of a life that can carry big blessings without breaking. He knows what you don't. He knows that the crown you want now would cut your skin. He knows that the spotlight you dream of would flood your eyes and blind your sight. He knows that the stage you chase would echo with a hunger you cannot feed. So He crowns you in private first, with integrity, with patience, with a softness that does not shatter. He trains you to be a home, not a hotel. He trains you to be a well, not a fountain that performs. In the quiet, you become real. In the quiet, you become ready. One afternoon, you will sit by a window and feel it, the gentle click inside, as if a key turned in a hidden door. No fireworks, no announcement, just an inner rightness, like shoes that finally fit. You will smile without reason. You will tidy your room as if expecting a guest. And the guest will be a new season that does not frighten you. Because when it arrives, you will recognize the scent. It smells like the prayers you whispered when no one heard you. It smells like the patience you practiced when no one clapped. It smells like the mercy that held you when nothing made sense. He knows what you don't. And when He finally says now, you will not run like someone afraid of missing out. You will walk like someone who knows they are right on time. Right on time for the gift you could not have carried last year. Right on time for the love you would have ruined before. Right on time for the work that needs a heart as weathered and kind as yours. Your gratitude will not be loud. It will be deep. It will sound like quiet laughter, like the soft closing of an old door behind you, like the first night you slept without a battle in your chest. You will look at the path that brought you here and whisper, every no was a form of love. Every silence was a lesson in trust. Every delay was a door of mercy opening slowly. He knows what you don't. And because He knows, you are safe even in confusion. You are held even in loss. You are guided even in the dark. So tonight, lay down the weight of what you cannot understand. Place it in the hands that understand everything. Say only this: write me with wisdom. Keep me where I belong. Give me what brings me closer to you. Take what takes me away. Then close your eyes. Let the golden whisper do its work. Let it braid your fears into patience. Let it turn your questions into a trust that glows without explanation. Because the truth has always been this simple. He knows what you don't. And one day, you will know why that was the kindest answer of all. And now you understand, it was never random. Every delay, every silence, every loss was a letter from heaven written in the language of mercy. The people who left were not rejection. They were redirection. The doors that closed were not punishment. They were protection. And the quiet that scared you was the moment Allah began to teach you how to hear without noise. You kept asking why. He kept whispering, because I know what you don't. Every sleepless night was counted. Every hidden tear was witnessed. Every unanswered prayer was rewritten in a better form. And now that you've walked through the waiting, you can see it. How precision wrapped itself in pain. How mercy disguised itself as loss. How love held you through every silence you mistook for absence. He never left you. He was building you in private, so no one else could take credit for your healing. He was slowing you down to keep you from a storm you didn't see coming. He was teaching you patience because what's written for you needed a heart that wouldn't shatter when it arrived. So when you leave this video tonight, leave lighter. You don't have to understand everything. You only have to trust the one who does. Your story is not behind schedule. Your destiny has not been delayed. It's unfolding exactly as it should in the timing of the one who never makes mistakes. And one day, when it all makes sense, you look back at the roads that confused you the most and whisper through tears, every detour was love guiding me home. Until then, walk gently. Trust the pauses. Bless the unanswered prayers. And keep your heart open, because Allah is still writing. And what He's writing for you is far more beautiful than what you were begging for.